So guys, the new month is officially upon us, which means that it's time for another dividend portfolio update. The last one of 2024, and we're going out with a bang. My portfolio is sitting at yet another all-time high, and in this video, I'm gonna show you everything like my best and worst performing stocks for the month, all of my recent moves in the portfolio, and we'll discuss what my upcoming plans are here to close out the year. But before we get to that, guys, I wanna hear from you. Leave me a comment below and let me know what's been going on in your portfolio this last month. I'm sure a lot of us are sitting at all-time highs right now in our portfolios, but let me know about any cool milestones you guys hit this last month. I want to hear about them in the comments below. Anyway, guys, getting into how my portfolio performed this last month over here on my dividend portfolio tracking spreadsheet, which you can start using for free. There is a link to download the spreadsheet in the description of the video. And right here, we're just looking at my main taxable brokerage account over on Charles Schwab, and we can see that it is currently valued at $73,912.26, which is a decent jump compared to this time last month. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but looking at the dividend income breakdown real quick, the projected annual income is sitting at $2,619, which amounts to about $218 every month, just over $50 every single week, and about $7.20 every single day. But then going back to the account's current value for just a moment, guys, this is actually up over $5,000 compared to this time last month. The performance in November was just absolutely insane. And if we look at the breakdown for the month over here on Snowball Analytics, which outside of my free spreadsheet is my go-to portfolio tracker. And if you're looking for something with, more bells and whistles, more features and functionality than your standard spreadsheet, or if you're just generally not a spreadsheet person, then this is the portfolio tracker to use. This one is a beast. And the best part about Snowball Analytics is that you can try it out for free. In the description, there's a link to a 14-day trial, so you can take it for a test drive, and I think you'll be really happy with it. Like I said, it just gives you so much great insight into your portfolio, and I think you'll be really impressed, so definitely try it out. But anyway, guys, getting back to it and looking at the breakdown here, in November, I was up 5.8% in this account, which makes it one of my best months so far in 2024. I mean, July overall was still the best month. I was up 6%. March is pretty neck and neck with November. I was also up about 5.8% there. But once again, here in November, up 5.8%, and looking at this breakdown, about $3,800 of that came from just share price appreciation. So saw some really nice profits here in November. And then I also brought in $230 in dividends. And looking at my dividend payments from this last month, there were a couple that were really solid payments, guys. I mean, Starbucks was quite a whopper, $47.62 in November, and this was my largest Starbucks payment ever, so I was happy to receive that. And then I also got a great one here from Enterprise Products Partners, EPD, for $59.24, almost $60 without having to lift a finger. And then there were a couple other, pretty decent payments. Realty Income, $26.39, Procter & Gamble, about $28. And in total, bringing in $230 in November, can't really complain. Didn't have to lift a finger for it, and what's not to love about that? But then jumping back over here to the performance section, comparing my portfolio's performance to the S&P, to the NASDAQ, and to SCHD, overall, it was a really good month. I was pretty neck and neck with the S&P. They edged me out by about 0.5%. Looks like I beat out the NASDAQ by about 1.4%, and also beat SCHD by 0.9%. And then with that, if we zoom out looking at the year-to-date performance here, it looks like I'm still hanging in there pretty good with the S&P. The S&P is beating me by 1.7% here in 2024. Now, as of this last month, I'm officially beating the NASDAQ by 0.7%, and I am crushing SCHD by about 5.4% here in 2024. So overall, guys, I would say that it's been a killer month, and I'm pretty dang pleased with the performance that we've seen this year. We're keeping pace with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, which is definitely a good thing, and there were quite a few stocks in my portfolio that saw some massive pops in this last month, which is what we're taking a look at next. All right, guys, now starting with my best performing stocks for November, by and large, Williams-Sonoma was the top dog for the month, guys. In the last 30 days, this stock jumped 24.3%, so a really killer jump for Williams-Sonoma, and we can see they really took off right here, and this happened after they reported some pretty good quarterly earnings. And with that, if we zoom out looking at Williams-Sonoma's year-to-date performance, the stock has just been on a roll, up 79%. And if we take a quick look at my position, I have 36 shares of Williams-Sonoma, and just in terms of share price, I'm up 158.5% 1.5%. So it's done really stinking well. And on a total return basis, including dividends in the calculation, I'm up 162.6%. So really can't complain about Williams-Sonoma. But anyway, now jumping over to my second best performing position in November. This one was EPD, Enterprise Products Partners, who jumped 18.8% in the last month. And they were up another 2.25% just on Friday, which is going to leave the share price, approaching the mid 30s, which is the highest that I think it's ever been. And if we zoom out looking at the year-to-date performance, it's up 34.7%. So this one's absolutely crushed it this year. And then as far as my position goes, I have about 112 shares of EPD, and my shares are up 44.2% in terms of share price and 67.1% on a total return basis, including dividends. So once again, this has just been an incredible performer in the portfolio. And I'm also super happy with this one because it is a high yielding stock, so we're generating some nice income from it as well. But then my third best performing stock in the last month, guys, was actually Snap-on, who according to this was up 11% in the last 30 days. And this stock is very quickly approaching $400 per share. It'll be interesting to see if it gets there this next month, but it's definitely been on a roll for sure. If it has another month like this one, it'll be over $400 per share, heading into 2025, which would be crazy to see. But if we zoom out looking at the year to date, Snap-on's just been on fire, up 34.2%. And my only regret with Snap-on is that I don't have more of it, guys. I have about 9 shares, and as we can see, I'm up 75.2% in terms of share price, and on a total return basis, I'm getting about an 8% boost there from the dividends, and I'm up 83.5%. So this one's been on fire. And in addition to those 3 there, I had quite a handful of other stocks that saw some pretty strong performance. I mean, Main Street was up about 10%, and this includes dividends as well. What we were looking at on Snap stock was just the share price performance, but here Main Street was up 10% on a total return basis. Procter & Gamble was up 9.2%, Visa up 8.4%, Altria 7.2%, and if we scroll down, we'll see some other stocks that also delivered some pretty strong performance. So like I said, guys, there were just a lot of stocks that did really well, and on the other hand, in terms of poor performing stocks, really the only one that saw any notable decline was Clear Secure, ticker symbol YOU, who was down almost 30% just in the last 30 days, and they really jumped off a cliff right here. And this came after they reported their quarterly earnings, which if we look at my position, I now have 82 shares of this company. I'm left with a 15.4% loss, both in terms of share price and on a total return basis, because I haven't received any dividends from this position yet. I should be getting my first one in December. So overall, we're not off to that hot of a start with this position, but it's okay, guys. Good opportunity to average down, and that's exactly what I've been doing. All right, guys, now getting into all of my buys for the month, just like in October and just like in September, it was a very straightforward month of buying. The only individual stock that I added to was Clear Secure, of which I picked up 42 shares. So I really did some damage here at an average cost of $30.59. And then in the Roth IRA, I made my regular weekly additions to SCHD and VU. In SCHD, I did pretty well. I picked up 8.6 shares at an average cost of $29.13, which as of this recording, I officially have 304.5 shares of SCHD. And as a lot of you guys know, split adjusted, my goal by the end of 2024 was to hit 300 shares of the holy grail of dividend ETFs, and I am proud to say that we officially did it. So that's another goal checked off our list. And as I like to say, guys, you got to celebrate the small victories. And this was a pretty big small victory for me. I was working towards this one for quite a while, so I'm really happy to finally have hit it. And it's things like this that really keep you going on this long and sometimes tedious and boring investing journey. Those small victories are really what keep you motivated and really keep you going. So like I said, I was super stoked to hit that. But anyway, back to my buys for the month. The last stock that I added to, or ETF I should say, was VU. I picked up exactly half a share in November at an average cost of $539.40. So like I said, across the board, a very straightforward month of buying, and I anticipate December will be much the same. And with that, guys, now moving on and taking a closer look at my Roth IRA. This is my Margarita money portfolio over here on M1 Finance, and it hit a really cool milestone here in the last month. It officially crossed $15,000 in this account, which I think is pretty cool. And this account saw a pretty solid month of performance. Just in the last 30 days, it was up about 4.5%. And if we zoom out looking at the year-to-date performance so far, this account is up 24%. So things are looking really good. And now if we take a look at my combined portfolio, starting here with my main taxable brokerage account, account, which is valued at $73,912. And this account's generating, $2,619 of annual dividend income. And add that to my Margarita Money portfolio, my Roth IRA at just over $15,000. And this account's generating $372 of annual dividend income. This is going to bring the combined portfolio value to $88,937 and my annual dividend income to $2,991. And if things just keep going at this rate, guys, which we'll see what happens, there's no telling what this next month is going to bring, or really this next year, but if things just keep going like they happen, we will be at six figures in this portfolio in no time. Like if we have another repeat of this last month, over these next 2 months, we'll be at $100,000 in the portfolio. But then guys, on the dividend income side of things, last month's projected annual income was $2,988, which means that just in the last month, we only added $3 of projected annual income, which is really nothing at all considering how many shares of Clear Secure I bought. I picked up 42 shares this last month, and I also bought a couple handfuls of shares of SCHD. So I would have thought just with those right there, that would put me over the $3,000 mark, which going into this month, I thought for sure was going to happen. And the numbers that I use for the dividend income in these videos, guys, come straight from my spreadsheet here. And if we look at the annual dividend column here, this information gets pulled from a website called Finviz. And what I think happened is that Finviz revised some of the numbers on their site sometime in this last month. I don't know which ones were changed, but they definitely lowered some of them. And this had an impact here in the spreadsheet and ultimately had an impact on my annual dividend income reading. What's interesting though is if we cross-reference this with my projected annual income over on Snowball Analytics, they have me over $3,000. My projected annual income over here is $3,551, which is pretty sweet to see something, have me above the $3,000 mark. With that said though, guys, just for the sake of consistency, like I said, I always use the spreadsheet numbers in these videos. So just for the sake of being consistent and also for the sake of being conservative, we'll rock with that spreadsheet number, 2,991. And still with that, I'm certain that we'll hit $3,000 of projected annual income by the end of December. And that was my original goal. By the end of 2024, I wanted that projected annual income to hit $3,000. So I think we'll just be over it. And I think we're still on track. Now guys, as far as my watch list goes, I actually didn't make a single change to this in the last month. It was a pretty boring month for the watch list. Over here on the list of stocks that I am very interested in, I still have the big three, Zoetis, Old Dominion, and Rollins. And it looks like both Rollins and Old Dominion had some pretty solid months. ODFL was up almost 12%, Rollins up 6.36%, not too shabby. And then over here on my other watch list, which is my somewhat interested list, I'm still a bit lukewarm on these companies. I kind of like them, but I'm not too certain that I want to add them to the portfolio yet, but like them enough to still want to keep an eye on them. It looks like for the most part, these all did really well. Air Lease was up 13.6%. Cintas was up 8%. PKG up 10%. And then we have Verisk here, or Verisk, and Watsco, both with double-digit gains as well. But with that, on the other end, the two French companies here on this watch list, L'Oreal and LVMH, both saw some pretty big drops, down 9%. Well, basically both of them were down almost 9%. And I think both of these are looking very interesting right there at their 52-week lows. And with that, if you want to learn about some more stocks that also look very interesting, then check out this next video right over here where I'm telling you about 3 of them. All of these stocks look like great buys right now in December. So click right over here to check those out, and I'll see you in the next one.